So, folks, I gotta tell you, here we go again. Dimitri syndrome, and I've been super critical this week of Donald Trump simply because that man is playing, Russian roulette with my country, with Mexico, with businesses, the U.S., whatever. But let's give credit where credit is due, Stuart. Let's give credit where credit is due. Donald Trump, when it comes up to his Middle East policy, can't be clearer. Cannot be clear. The one thing the Biden administration was very clear about is they were not clear. They armed both sides. They made sure that the conflict just was to go on. We saw that in Ukraine, and we see that now in with the Middle East as Doge reveals where the money's going. Joe Biden played like a very, very, very dangerous game in the Middle East that now Donald Trump has to clean up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rent Report. I am David Solomon. I'm joined by my best friend and good friend and longtime friend, Stuart Brisgell. This is the Rent Network. What we do here, unedited, unfiltered, uncensored, and definitely unapologetic. We do not shy from our opinions and our honest perspectives on news, politics, and so much more. So sit back, folks, relax, as today we reflect upon Stuart 47, number 47, and how he has been handling things in the Middle East. Stuart, I have to give credit where credit is due. I gotta like what I'm seeing with DT in the Middle East.
When everyone was talking, oh, this guy's going to just give millionaires and billionaires tax breaks, no one in the world thought that he would take the international world with one hand. From forcing Russia and Ukraine to a table, to threatening Hamas that if they don't do, all the weapons and armaments will be handed over to the Israelis without delay, to end the conflict as they see fit. He's gotten every Arab country to talk about alternative situations on how they're going to resolve it, because clearly the two-state solution from 75 years ago, which actually is from even before that, has yet to been able to make sense. And if you continue doing the same thing over and over again, David, what do you call that and expect a different result? Insanity. Now, what people didn't know is we all understand that Iran is the head of the snake in all of the world's largest terrorist organizations. And is it like the cartel? No, but it is the world's largest source of terror, right? Comes from the Ayatollah Khomeini and their radical view of Islam. Now, Islam in general is not a loving language, a loving religion. It is not warm and fuzzy. However, the everyday Muslim people, like everyday Christian people, like everyday Jewish people, just want to make money, love their family, and have a good day. So Donald J. Trump sent a letter to the Ayatollah Khomeini. You're going to negotiate a nuclear deal, or you can face the consequences of not. And the same old will never just do. So in the first 50 days in office, let's sort of roll this back. He has floating tariffs for every country in the world that, according to the Department of Commerce in the United States, has had an unfair advantage in some way or another. And he wants to rebalance and retrain that whole international concept. 2, he's gotten the Middle East once again turned upside down, going, if we don't figure this out, Joe Biden's don't. That meant nothing. Obama's red line, don't. That meant nothing. To a man, they're actually scared shitless because they don't know what this man is capable of. I think his lack of consistent political behavior actually causes this whole entire conundrum. And the left that had 4 years of this first administration saying, hate Trump, hate everything he does, everything does, now is in a position where there's not much to hate about what he's doing unless you're on the other side of the stick. which goes to American Golden Age. Does that mean we have to hate Canada and Mexico? No. Does that mean Justin Trudeau's got to go? Well, yeah, we still want him to go, and I believe he's gone. But, we want the world to come back together in a cohesive, warm, and fuzzy way where no one's taking advantage of anyone and every country is building the best version of itself at its own expense. Hey, man, I'll loan you a couple $1 billion, couple $100 billion to stabilize a country and bring it to peace. But if you're not going to bring it to peace, why am I giving you any money? You're our freedom fighters? No. And in the news recently, we discovered that the EU has bought more gold and more oil from Russia than they've actually provided the Ukraine to defend itself. This is just all wrong. Every single topic that David and I have touched on for the last 5 years somehow brings us to this head. Hey, same old is no longer going to do. Now, is he squawking a little bit on his new tariffs? Well, there is some pushback. There is some logic. We've gotten some stuff out of Mexico. We've gotten some stuff out of good old Canada. Sorry, David. But you know what? At least it's a start. It's a start in the right direction. Is it the start of fear-mongering amongst Canada? We're going to cut your electricity. Ford in Ontario, trying to make himself seem like he is the new coming of a new premier in the making. No, I think that the bottom line is Canada realizes that it has no cards to play that would not hurt itself 10 times more than it would hurt the United States. And anything the United States does will be 10 times more inflicting. And that would be a 1930 cataclysmic end to the trade world. It is forcing Canada, however, to do what it should do, take ownership of its own costs and its own people. And you know what? Canada has to produce stuff and make money. So does the United States. We cannot farm out all of our manufacturing, all of our consulting, all of our alternative energies, all of our ores and minerals to other countries. That's exporting our dollars. And the only reason why tariffs should be in place is when countries, unfortunately, David, not only like Canada, but many others like to subsidize through their own government grants, through money being provided by undoubtedly the United States, whether it's the dairy, whether it's the, I forgot to tell you, the maple syrup mafia, whether it's lumber, steel. It has religiously been an issue of tariffs on returning lumber, on returning steel. Tariffs. So, again, not picking on Canada, David. I think that there will be common sense that will prevail. I think that if the Ayatollah and Hamas don't get common sense, there will be natural destruction of those organizations that would turn countries upside down yet again. And I think that if Mexico doesn't get control over its gangsters and mafia at the border, they will, in fact, also feel the brunt of pain. David, China, who everyone thinks has been dealt with lightly, it actually hasn't. And the severity of all the imports is waging. And if you understand and follow Amazon and Baba, they're all scared out of their minds because the $800 exemption is now gone. David, sorry.
No, I'm just gonna say that someone could accuse you of being a Trump apologist, but I would say it like this, ladies and gentlemen. Here are the reasons why we agree and we disagree. I'll start where I disagree. It's fascinating because economists have said, and they will disagree, tariffs are the wrong approach. In fact, if you talk to the way the negotiators have been talking, like people who've negotiated real incredible deals, with all due respect to Donald Trump, when you're negotiating with allies, how to do it. And unfortunately, Donald Trump, and by extension, by the way, President Sheinbaum from Mexico and Justin Trudeau from Canada have all failed to negotiate right. They've actually, all three, when this is all done, all three will have realized, and Trudeau doesn't care because as of Sunday, Stuart, he's out of a job. They'll realize how badly they've done this. They've hurt their people. But wasn't the point of the rant for today, Stuart. The point of the rant wasn't to give Donald Trump kudos for everything he does, because not everything he does deserves it. And I don't agree at all with what you said about, that it all has to be 100% done in America. I think it's been proven that it's not necessarily specialization. A lot of things has been over decades have shown it makes a lot more sense. But that's not the point. The point is, where I wanted to give Donald Trump credit today was how he's handling the Middle East. How he's handling the Middle East is why I really wanted to get in focus on, Stuart, because this is the area where the Biden administration completely dropped the ball. The Biden administration went out there, armed Hamas, gave money to UNRWA, gave money to different terrorist groups. He sent in the fleet. He sent in to deter. But the reality is, he kept saying the word. Remember, Stuart, what was the word again? Don't. He used basically a rephrasing of Obama's red line, which of course we knew did not exist. This is the thing. There were words and there are actions. And while I don't agree with what he does with tariffs, I agree with what he's doing with Doge and principle. While I don't agree with how he's handling certain things, when it comes to the Middle East, this is a guy who actually needs to strong arm. This is where strong arming needs to happen. You're dealing with a terrorist. Oh, Stuart, please. You're dealing with a terrorist organization. This terrorist organization killed 1,200 people, has been able to rearm during the ceasefire, thanks to, yes, the United States, who sent money so that they can acquire these arms. Thank you, Joe Biden. And now Donald Trump has to go in there and clean up the mess. The mess by sending his negotiator, Steve Witkoff, basically is sending a message. We're here for only one thing. We're looking for a first step ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, because of course Hamas can't keep a ceasefire. It wasn't Israel that has broken this ceasefire, Stuart. Since 2014, this so-called ceasefire, which was around during the last Hamas attack, was broken by, you named it, Hamas. And as a result, the United States government has to go in and clean up the mess of Obama for 8 years, Biden for 4 years, and yes, even Trump didn't handle. No, Stuart, allow me to finish, please. He messed up. He messed up V1. He realized his mistake, and now he's coming in even heavier-handed than ever to do it. What's amazing is that he had the hostages in his office. He spoke to them. He's spoken to negotiators. He's spoken to Netanyahu. He's let Netanyahu finish the job that Biden basically didn't want him to do. The Biden administration treated Israel, not like an ally, okay, but like a client. It wasn't even an ally. It was a client, someone who's purchasing arms from you, and you can mess around with the client. This is not, and the United States was playing supplier. This was completely a completely disastrous way of doing things, because all Biden wanted to do, which is what Trump is being accused of, is lining pockets. Biden wanted to line certain pockets. He got away with it. Okay. This is what I'm saying about the Trump administration. And I know you're going to try to rip me for what I said about the tariffs and whatever. But let's focus on what we agree upon, please.
All right.
And that is, if I get one. Okay, Stuart, please go on. Go ahead.
David, I agree with you on the Middle East. Let me just get this off before you start jumping down. There's no doubt. And there's no doubt that on the 5th, he invoked a direct dialogue with Hamas to try and broker a deal. There is no peace with Hamas, and I think there's no long-term political future for Hamas. And what you're talking about in far as tariffs and Biden and Obama, or even back to Jimmy Carter, there is clearly, as I started this rant, and now to rope it all in and tell you it all makes sense, if you continue to do the things you thought you were doing were the right way, then we wouldn't be in a cataclysmic insanity world. And so, David, with all due respect to the tariff threats, to the war threats, to the holding backs, to the demands, is unconventional behavior, which isn't the norm, is generating more results than the same old, expecting something different to occur is a definition of insanity. So if you think old negotiators was the way to go, I could tell you from Jimmy Carter to the late, running Mr. Biden, it has always failed. And David, your tariff negotiations and way you deal with friends, if it always worked, we wouldn't be where we are. And David, if the continuation of you thought those really smart people knew it better and the current administration that's unconventional is far worse, you are just bleeding into the rhetoric that the same old is the right way to go. I believe you're right. Hamas is the terror organization in the region. I believe Hamas, if they drop their weapons, there would be peace. And any argument of that would be insanity, because you have said and repeated honestly more than once that if the Gazas didn't break the actual ceasefire, there would still be peace in the Middle East. There would still be a successful plan of two-state solution. But we can go on this topic.
The one word I'm going to correct you is there's not peace in the Middle East. Let's just, like the same way you talked about an armistice, this is not peace in the Middle East. And I'm sorry I got to correct you on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Stuart just showed you what's possible. On that note, have yourself a wonderful weekend, guys. We'll catch you on